short weeks away, and Run Pure Sports is gearing up for the season with the best deal in DFS.
For a limited time only, we are offering new members a 15% discount for the life of their subscription, including SaberSim subs. Simply use the promo code NFL15 when subscribing to take advantage of this great deal before our prices go up.
And at RPS, we don't just give you access to one sport. When you subscribe to our premium service, we give you access to all of our content, including NFL, NBA, MLB, PGA, and so much more.
And we're not going to charge extra for access to our preseason content either. Our memberships include all of our content, including the NFL preseason. The best DFS players in the industry give you access to their core plays and slate strategies for every sport and for every slate. Simplify your lineup building process by plugging in picks directly from the top players in the world. Watch our premium live streams to gain a huge edge on the competition. Our guys are live up to lock for the biggest slates, walking you through their last-minute decisions, analyzing breaking news and injury alerts for the major sports.
Again, for a limited time only, you can access our industry-leading DFS content for 15% off our already low price. SaberSim packages are included, so sign up today using the promo code NFL15 for 15% off your subscription for life and start building winning lineups today.
What is going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Talking some baseball like usual. Hoop, Mango, and myself breaking down this big 12-game slate. Pitching is absolutely loaded today. I'm excited to dive in and get to the pitching because there's a lot of options for sure. Hitting, kind of gross, and that's just the opposite of what we saw last night. Pitching was really, really gross out there. Hitting, a lot of teams got the job done. And man, our boy, Hoop, got the job done yesterday. A big $100,000 win. Also took third in that contest too. Absolutely dominated the $15. So Hoop, throw it over right to you. Talk a little bit about that team. Wasn't too much of a sweat. It didn't look like. You pulled away. Great team for sure. Cardinals got the job done. The weather held up. Congrats to you. Talk about that team a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one thing that definitely worked to my advantage last night was the weather in that Cardinals game. And based on ownership, I'm assuming most people kind of bailed on that game because those guys came in way lower owned than I had anticipated. Tyler O'Neill was only like 13%. Those teams that I had up there had Pujols over Goldschmidt, and Pujols was, I think, 8%. Dickerson, relatively low owned. So, I just stuck with it. I said, if this game, doesn't play, oh, well, I still have maybe like 60% of my teams that have a chance. But yeah, I got a little greedy. I wanted first and second. It was looking like, I had a good chance of first and second. First place was pretty much locked in unless something crazy happened in like that Giants Padres game, but those guys were like unknown. But the Clevenger win, someone passed me up for second place. So, first place, third place finish, we'll take it. And the guys that we talked about on the show yesterday were the ones that were key. And it was a weird slate where pitching just didn't matter. Like no one did anything at pitcher. I locked in Corbin on my 150. Wow. And it didn't end up mattering because nobody really did anything at the position. I think Lopez might have got like 15 or 16. Clevenger got like 13, and that was it. So I had Burns and Montas, I believe, on both those teams as well. But the other thing that's very important, when people like to take shots at you and the company on Twitter, you got to circle back and own them a little bit. You got these guys talking about the dupes in the 150 and this and that, these losers that sit behind keyboards, the Saul Goodmans, that whoever the downside of me or you, whoever that is on Twitter, like you got to come after them. You got to come back, fire back, and own them. And that's what I did today. A little shot right back at those people. But we're keeping the positivity going here. We're going to find some more winners leading into NFL. It was a good night last night. Looking to go back to back here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, there's no better way to shut up the haters than a nice six-figure win. So, hey, that's what matters for sure. People are always going to be out there hating. People are always going to be out there talking. Just the world we live in. But, hey, 100K, it's third place as well. Awesome stuff there. We're looking to repeat it today. And, Kevin in chat asked, like, Hoop, did you max enter? Did you 150 that? And, you mentioned it on the show yesterday, which caught me off guard a little bit because I don't see you max entering a ton during MLB. You mentioned it earlier, had a plan. Stuck with it, and man, it paid off for sure. So congrats to you. Awesome.
Yeah, stuff. I did. It's funny because I did start to, because they had the 888 on DK, and I did start to build teams for that. And I just wasn't liking what was fitting. I was like, you know what, screw this. I'm just going to do 150 tonight. So, pulled the U-turn at some point, I believe right before the show yesterday, and ended up, doing 150, which clearly, worked out quite nicely. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Awesome stuff. And then I do want to give a shout. We'll get to the members never win as well, but we also had another RPS member win $100,000 on FanDuel, took down the monster with a single bullet. C. Jacobs 986. So if you're watching, I see you in the Discord as well. You tweeted it out. Awesome stuff to you as well, C. Jacobs. $100,000 over there. So, man, got to bring you in though. Talk about a little college football. I know was it week 0 of college football? Not too many of the teams were playing, but still a decent slate. Saw Bruce at RPS crushed it, I saw. So a little college football action. Again, one price, all the sports. How is that going? I know you're excited for the year. MLB still going on. What's going on, man?
Yeah, college football's awesome. I'm doing some content over there. It's not going to be necessarily like the single entry 3 mats because there's just not like as many of those things. But it basically gives you my whole breakdown of like quarterbacks, running backs I'm looking at, receivers, a little breakdown of like how the slate's looking. And then I kind of talk about, hey, here's the cash construction. Here's the contrarian one. And then here's the game stack, because game stacking in football, we know that's valuable and it's really valuable in college football. So kind of go through the process of that, spots where you can get different, spots where you just eat the chalk. Sometimes in college football, there's just 3.5K running backs that are just like too cheap and you need to play them and they're just getting all the workload, and there's mispriced guys. It happens at the start of every season. You'll see it at the start of NFL. Juju Smith-Schuster, he's only 5.2K. Travis Kelce's only 6.6K against Arizona. There's just some prices that are just like cheap on guys. I haven't listed all of them. There's a lot more to talk about for sure. But college football streets were good to me. Had a couple injuries that kind of hurt that were not so kind. That could have got me to the top of the leaderboards, but that's okay. We got a ton of college football coming this weekend. It starts on Thursday. Thursday, there's games. Friday night, you'll have some. Saturday, I believe even Sunday, you'll have some games as well. And I wouldn't be shocked. I think there's like a Monday night game. Maybe it's like on an island and it's a good one. That's a showdown. Can't remember, but we got a lot of college football this weekend. It's a great time to sign up. And then NFL will be rolling right after that, right? We got Labor Day weekend that comes up. So you get the nice little holiday. And then boom, all the NFL content starts. People say, oh, the week 1 starts, September 11th on that Sunday. For us, it really just starts next week. That's when the content starts rolling in. You guys will be consuming it. And it's a great time to sign up. We love this time of year.
Oh, yeah. There's no better time of year for me. One of the best weekends, the first weekend NFL. Once NFL rolls, the next thing you know, NBA's here. Hockey's here for the people that do that as well. MMA's still going on. Golf's the one sport where NFL picks up, golf slows down. But, hey, that's all right. NFL takes over everything. Man, I cannot wait for college football, though. Like you said, all sports, one price. NFL 15 is the promo code going on right now. It gets you 15% off every single month for the life of your subscription. SaberSim is also included in that. Let's say hi to a couple people we got in chat. I did see Kobe Jacobs is in chat, so we'd love to see that. Congrats again, Kobe Jacobs. Fade the Chalk said, hit a little $10,000 myself last night. Awesome stuff, Fade the Chalk. We got Drew. We got Mitch Snyder. What's going on, Snyder? Uncle T's in the chat. Landa, It'll Do Farm, J-Rock. We got Blake, Gator Nation, Connor Charger, Michael Vasquez, Nate Defy, Richie Smalls, Mamba. A lot of familiar faces in chat. So appreciate you hanging out with us. Again, hit that like button for us, please. Hit that big red subscribe button. We appreciate it. But big slate, 12 games. Let's dive right into it. Like I said earlier, we're starting at pitching. Man, pitching is loaded today, and I think it's the opposite with the bats. I think 12-game slate, 24 teams. I don't see too many spots that I'm very interested in when it comes to bats. So pitching-wise, I have a lot of interest in a lot of guys, but we can't play everyone. So you got Nola, you got Framber Valdez, Max Fried, Zach Gallen, Andrew Heaney, Blake Snell, Gossman, George Kirby. So many options. Let's go 8-5 and above to start because there's just so many. There's so many elite plays up top. Kirby 8-5, Aaron Nola 10-6. I think we see ownership pretty spread out on this slate for pitching. So I'm not going to be worried about, and if I like someone, I just say you play him today is my approach. Mangone, I'm going to start with you. 8-5 all the way up. How are you breaking down this range?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of options to like from 8-5 and above, and I'm surprised that's where you made the cutoff. But there's a lot to discuss. So grab a seat. We're going to talk for a while. Aaron Nola's at the top against the Arizona Diamondbacks, and this is a good park technically for pitchers. Aaron Nola, he's got a 6.5K strikeout prop. Most of the props you're going to see in this range are between like 4-5 or 6-5. You also have an extreme pitchers umpire for Aaron Nola, so that's really encouraging. I don't think his ownership today, I don't think is going to matter that much. I think it's going to really spread out so thin between all these guys. Typically, you see like Garrett Cole when he's on a slate. He comes in at like between like 40 and 60%. I just don't think it's one of those slates. So I'm not really going to talk about ownership that much unless there's a guy that you see that's like virtually unowned at like 5%. I don't really want to have too many conversations about ownership today. So yeah, overall, I think Aaron Nola, I think he's the top raw points spend up option. But my argument with Aaron Nola is I don't think necessarily you need to spend up for him. Like, I think he's a good guy to get exposure to, but he's not that like lock it in, Garrett Cole in like a perfect spot, or, I felt like Brandon Woodruff was that lock it in guy. And look what happened yesterday with him. He was pretty frustrating and pitching all around yesterday.
Corbin Burns. I know what you meant though.
Yeah, Corbin Burns. I
know what you meant.
I always get those two confused every single time, honestly. It's so funny. But let's go to the next guy I want to talk about. I'm going to skip Framber Valdez because I just don't have that much interest in him. I have more interest in Max Fried. He does get a matchup against Colorado, has a pretty decent projection. Strikeout props a little bit lower, but he's kind of one of those options like Chris Bassett the other day against Colorado. Listen, maybe it's not like the highest ceiling performance, but I feel super safe about him just getting the job done in his production. And like the opponent's team total is one of the lowest on the entire slate. So I think Max Fried is in play. You can make an argument. Maybe he comes in as like the 5th highest scoring pitcher on the night or only the 4th, but I just think his safety is really good where I think getting exposure to him is not bad, but there are some other guys for cheaper that you can argue their ceilings could be a little bit stronger. Like Zach Gallen right below. You could easily make an argument that at 9.7, he has a higher ceiling because of the strikeout rate, and he's going against this Phillies team. And I talk about it a lot. They're very much like the Yankees. They're very swing or miss. They can sometimes just bomb it off people, or they can just strike out a ton and absolutely dud. So I think Zach Gallen could have a good game. Not someone I'm like putting in my lineups a ton, but I think he's in the conversation today and cannot be ignored. The next guy I want to really talk about is Blake Snell. He's got one of the better strikeout props on this slate, 6.5, heavily juiced on the over, and he gets a matchup against San Francisco in San Francisco, which is a pretty good pitcher's park. Yes, I know the Giants, they'll try their best to get righty heavy, but I'm not that scared of a lot of options there. Sure, you got Wilmer Flores there and some of those other guys that can hit the ball, but I'm not that worried where I think overall Blake Snell's a really good play at 9,300 and should not be ignored. I think we need to get exposure to him. I do want to talk about this 8.5 range, or not 8.5, just the 8K range. You can make an argument for Brady Singer because he's going against the White Sox, and we've seen the White Sox struggle against righties this year. We've definitely seen it. But I think there's other options that I'm gravitating towards instead. Not that I think Brady Singer's a bad option. If I was doing like 150 lineups, I think I'd maybe get a little bit of them for sure today. And then maybe I'd go a little more condensed on the bats. But Kevin Gausman's the next guy we got to talk about because he's going against the Cubs, and we should pull up the lineup. Sometimes the lineups aren't out yet, but let's see, because this Cubs lineup typically is very righty heavy. And why do we like Kevin Gausman typically? Well, we like him because he's pretty good at suppressing power against righties overall. At least that's what the season numbers have shown. And today their lineup, they got the Ian Happ in there, which, yeah, sure, he could easily get a hold of him, but he's the only lefty that that's in the lineup in general, right? So like, what am I scared of? He's done a pretty good job against righties overall. That's one reason I played him a ton against the Boston Red Sox, because when they're in Boston, yeah, it's good for righty power, but he always just is able to suppress that right-handed power pretty well with the way he pitches. So overall, I think Kevin Gausman is a really strong play in this range at 8,700. The next guy to talk about is George Kirby at 8,500. And the reason I like him is, well, look at the matchup, right? He gets the Detroit Tigers. We know how bad the Tigers can be, especially against righties. Let's see what the lineup is, though, today. Because I know that Detroit's gotten a little bit better at getting more lefty heavy with that lineup. And today they got Riley Green.
They got a lot.
Well, yeah, they do. Yeah, they have a lot of them in there. And it's just, that's the one thing I get a little bit worried about with the Tigers down the stretch here. I still think we can take advantage of them, but this is not the same lineup where just the entire bottom of the order is still just some crappy righties in there, right? I really thought that the other day when I was kind of looking at their lineup, and I still think that holds pretty true here in this spot. So overall, I like George Kirby. I think he's a good play, but the more I'm like starting to think about this, there just might be some better plays in this range. Like I talked about with Kevin Gausman, maybe taking a shot on Brady Singer might be a little more intriguing too. So I know this White Sox lineup has been pretty watered down as of late, but yeah, overall this range, I think for me, my two favorite options are Blake Snell and Kevin Gausman when it comes to like a point per dollar perspective. But if you're telling me salary doesn't matter, like Aaron Nola is the top guy, if I can just jam him in there, but he's not the guy to prioritize today. So my overall rankings of this 8,500 and above, I'm going to go Snell number 1, Gausman 2, and then I'm going to go Aaron Nola at number 3.
I love it. Great breakdown for sure. Way to touch on them all. I was going to ask you that same question too. So you're ahead of the game. Great stuff, man. Going over to you, 8.5 and above. I mean, Mangone touched on it. He did a great job. So many options there too. I mean, he didn't even mention a guy like Andrew Heaney, who I don't have too much interest as well, but 5.5K prop, -150 juice on the over. We do know he does have the strikeout upside. Back-to-back games, 29, 20, 10K games. I'm not saying that he's an elite option today. I definitely liked him more last week, but just shows how good this slate is. So 8.5 and above. How are you breaking down this pitching range?
Yeah, I'm going to throw Giolito in there too at like 8.2.
I should have said 8K.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Just because he's another guy that I'm comfortable with, and I agree with a lot of the stuff that Mangone had to say here. But really, I mean, there's like 6 guys up here that I'm fine with. And it wouldn't surprise me if any 2 were the ones that you needed to be on the optimal. Nola, Fried, Snell, Gausman, Kirby, Giolito, 6 pitchers that, again, I think are all very similar. I think we could see similar production. Who's the safest? Probably Aaron Nola, coming off a phenomenal game against the Reds, where 47 fantasy points. I mean, that's a massive game that, you just don't see all that often. I like Fried, really good matchup for him. Blake Snell, really good matchup for him. He's coming off a couple down starts, but in San Francisco is a really good spot. Gausman, against 8 righties at home, favored 8.7K. Kirby gets just an ideal matchup against the Tigers, and he's been very, very safe as of late. And then Giolito at 8.2, home matchup against the Royals. Some risk with him, but again, a good spot for him. So what I'm doing today is I'm going to kind of have all those guys in my player pool. Going to build out my offenses, and whoever I get. I'm happy with it. Just don't have a strong lean. I mean, I do like Kirby here quite a bit. Like I love this matchup, obviously, against Detroit. So maybe, I make sure I get a certain amount of him. Fried's another guy that, a matchup really, really good for him, 9.9K. I'm going to make sure I get some of him. So honestly, I'm good with any of those guys. And as I said in the opening, I wouldn't be shocked if any 2 of those guys were the ones that were on the optimal today. So for me, love all 6 of those guys, and whoever I get, I get.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, we'll go below 8K, and how I see it is, I think 6 guys. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if someone, like I said, Heaney or some other names we didn't even mention. Framber, he has a higher strikeout prop than he usually does. I wouldn't be surprised if any of those guys in the upper tier really made it. But we go down below 8K with how good the upper tier is, and hitting is kind of questionable on this slate. There are a couple of the teams that within a couple of the teams with the highest implied totals are the big name bats, the Blue Jays, the Braves, and all that. So you do have to spend on the top tier guys. So is there anyone below 8K you can make a case for that's going to be in your pitching pool, or is it just Giolito and above, and that's all you're going to do?
Yeah, so put in my first build of teams, and I'm getting no one under Giolito, and I'm fine with it. If I was going to play anyone, it would probably be Eric Fetty at home against the Oakland team, but I just don't think you need it on this slate. I just think that 2 of those guys, Giolito and above, are going to be on the optimal today. So I am, not playing anyone really under Giolito, maybe Fetty if I need to at 5.7, but there is weather concerns there. That's really the only spot where there is weather that could potentially impact the game. So for me, it's going to be Giolito and above, and I'm not messing with this range.
Yeah, I'm with you. The one that did stand out to me was Fetty, but man, we just listed so many elite pitchers up there. Like, I would be a little surprised if Fetty was on the winner, but I mean, if teams blow up like they did yesterday, hitters wise, you just need certain stacks, then it can work because of that. Mangone, you got to talk a little bit about Giolito, since I said 8.5 and above, but besides Giolito, talk about him. Anyone else that you're looking to below A5?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going below this range. I'm simply just going to Giolito as like the last guy to mention. And yeah, that's why I thought you just lump them all together. But I think Giolito is in play. The only thing I'm just kind of thinking about with him is we know like he's like the shakiest of the bunch, right? So it's like we know what Lucas Giolito can be, and he can just give up bombs to guys. I just have some concern here with him. I like him. I think he's going to be lowerish owned. Again, I don't think its ownership's going to matter that much so today. So like, it's not a huge deal to me, but like, if I fall on him, I fall on him. He's not someone I'm like jamming into my lineups. I'm saying, oh, I need to have like, 25% of him or something like that. It's one of those spots where like, if I run some stuff and I'm not getting that much Giolito, that's okay. It's not a big deal. If I am getting like 80% Giolito, that's probably a problem. I probably need to adjust some things a little bit. It is worth mentioning, I think on FanDuel, you're going to see Giolito pop a little bit more than you will on DraftKings, I think, overall, just because of how close the gaps are between those options. That's at least what I noticed when I ran some stuff earlier. But overall, I think Giolito's a good play, but like, man, I really just like some of these other options a little bit more. So like I said, gonna try to get exposure to him, but I'm not forcing it here on this slate because I know, yes, Kansas City, they're a team I think we can target. They have a 23% strikeout rate over the last 30 days, but they are a team that can definitely get a hold of, Giolito, and I would not be surprised at all.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's pitching on this slate. There's no one below AK that any of us three are going to get to. And I think that makes a lot of sense today, personally. I don't think, man, it's gross down there for sure. And the upper range is stacked. So, Mango, and I know you mentioned Snell, you mentioned Gossman, Nola. Let's hear your top four pitchers. Try and get in order, but I know that's tough to do.
Yeah, I think my order would be, and I'm like going to go more point per dollar here on this one.
Yeah.
Like probably Snell, Gausman, probably Kirby, just because of what I think his ceiling can be the more that I looked at it. Then I'll go Nola, and like the guy that's like in the outside looking in, I just want to mention like Max Fried. Like I said, he seems like a super safe option that I don't feel worried about getting blown up. And then I'd probably put Giolito 6. So that'd be the order I do. But my top four is definitely Snell, Gausman, Kirby, and then Nola.
I like it. Hoop, same question to you. Top four.
Yeah, I'll go Kirby. I do like Kirby quite a bit. That 8.5K makes a lot of things work. I'll go Nola 2, and then Fried 3. But like I said, it's very close between all these guys up here.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. That is pitching on this slate. Stay above 8K, and I think you were doing something right. The bats are the tricky part today, so we'll go game by game as always. Hit that like button for us, please. Hit that big red subscribe button. We do appreciate it. And let's shout out to Members Never Win. We got Corey Graves, $12 into 1,000 in F1. It'll Do Farm. Saw you in chat earlier. 10,000 in NASCAR. TMR6, 14,000 in MLB. The Decaffer 5, 275,000 in MLB, the tied for third place in the final. Awesome stuff there. C. Jacobs, 986, like I mentioned earlier, hit $100,000 yesterday on FanDuel and MLB. Hoop, 20,000 in PGA, and then Hoop again yesterday, $100,000 in MLB. Looking to keep the hot streak going. Yesterday was a great day. Nice big slate today. Stay above 8K in pitching and find the right stacks is how we see it today. So hit like button, subscribe button. We appreciate it. Game by game, 12 games on this slate. First game, Oakland Athletics, Washington Nationals, Cole Irvin, Eric Fetty on the mound. Man, I mean, you look at this Oakland team, they have a higher implied total than they pretty much have all year. Good hitting weather in Washington, sitting about 85 degrees today, guaranteed the ninth inning at bats. They are really cheap. I have more Oakland interest than I usually do on a slate like this, especially because I do know I'll be paying up at pitching. There are some elite stacks with higher price bats that I like. So I think Oakland's interesting. I think you can mini stack Washington as well against Cole Irvin. So feels weird. Feels gross being on the Nationals in Oakland on a 12-game slate at this time of the year. But that's how I'm seeing it personally. Hoop, talk about this game.
Yeah, I mean, obviously two of the worst offenses in baseball, I guess you could say, Oakland and Washington. I just have not played the A's all season long. They are popping in projection, so I think this might be one of the slates where they actually get some ownership. I'm just going to fade it. You know, I've done it all season long. I don't want to get on them when I think they might be higher owned than they typically are. Are they going to be high owned? No, but they're going to get some ownership. Any projection site you look at, has them as plus values, a lot of these guys. So I'll fade with the exception of like Stephen Vogt on DK, batting fourth, catcher eligible 2.5K. It's probably the only guy in this lineup that I'm going to get exposure to. I do have a little bit more interest, I think, in the national side. This Joey Meneses guy I think's interesting. Luke Voigt. You get the catcher in Ruiz. Lane Thomas is only 2.3K. So some moderate interest in the Nationals, not like a core spot or anything, but they're cheap enough where I think they can make some things work. So no Athletics outside of Vote, and then maybe, some Nationals mini stacks or one-offs potentially.
Mangone, Nationals, Oakland.
Yeah, so I think you definitely have to have some interest here in Oakland. And listen, Oakland's normally in a really bad ballpark. At least the one thing they do right is like when they see like a righty in there, they get pretty lefty heavy, which is, something that you obviously want to see. If you are going to play these Oakland bats, though, I kind of like doing it with the cheap ones and more as that like mini stack, right? That's going to give you the route to, if you want to jam in, like, let's say you want to jam in the Braves today, and then you want to do it with like inexpensive, like pitching combination. We talked about it. We want to spend over 8K and above on pitching. And I'm not saying that like you can't, have like a mini stack that costs some money, but a good way to do it is if you have a pretty expensive stack, well, then what you can do is you can plug in like Blake Snell and like maybe Kevin Gausman with like a very expensive stack. And then maybe you just like land on like some 2K like options. And you don't have to make it a 3-man stack. You can make it like a 2-man. It could be a 1-man of some of these Oakland guys. I just don't think they can be completely ignored. I think if you want, ignore them as the 5-man stack. I don't need to go that, but a 3-man, a 2-man, or even one-offs, I don't want to X those guys out of the pool. I know sometimes people, they watch the shows and they go on SaberSim and they kind of X out a game. Typically, I'm sure they X out the Oakland A's. I don't think Xing out the Oakland A's is a good idea today. Kind of let the opto tell you what it's going to do, but don't jam them in there. I think they're interesting one-offs, 2-man and 3-man stacks for sure, because the game's in Washington, and we talk about it every single time. Washington, they're going to pitch out a really bad pitcher, and they're going to have a bad bullpen every single day. You are always going to get 9 at-bats in a good Washington ballpark against a bad pitcher and a really bad bullpen. So how do we not like consider some of these guys at really cheap price tags?
Yeah, no, that's my thoughts as well. I won't be 5-man stacking either of these teams, but one of the best hitting weather on the slate. We like bats in Washington. Again, it's like we're talking about Blake Snell. We're going to get to that game later, but it's 60 degrees and it's even probably going to be a little chillier in San Fran. So now is where I really look at weather. 85 in this park, guaranteed 9th inning at bats. I'm going to be spending up at pitchers. So I agree. I'm not 5-manning these, but I'll definitely keep them in as a 3 or 2-man mini stack to make things work. Let's get to the next game on the slate. Chicago Cubs, Toronto Blue Jays, Marcus Stroman, Kevin Gausman on the mound. Go right back to you in this one, man. Going, any interest?
Yeah, you said the Kevin Gausman game. Yeah, that's man. The tough thing about the Blue Jays, and this is where I struggle with, sure, it is a Marcus Stroman very long revenge game ago, but the ground balls that Marcus Stroman throws, that can sometimes just mitigate like the upside of teams. Like that's why I don't love targeting ground ball pitchers all the time. I know it's not perfect, but kind of just like a quick rule of thumb. And that's why I never really love stacking up against Marcus Stroman. So I think with a 7.5 total here on a big slate, I just don't think I need to go there, Title.
Yeah, I mean, I think Toronto is going to be low owned because you look at this total and so many of those bats in there are 5K and above since you want to play the big ones. You do have Danny Jansen, the 8-hole, homered yesterday, Jackie Bradley in the 9-hole, but who you like Toronto, you like them at home. They're tough though. If you want to spend up at pitching, you want to stack them, they're going to be low owned because of it though. So I'm excited to hear what you got to say.
Yeah, it's a tough one for me, honestly, because I love the Blue Jays and man, I just don't know. You can't play everyone, I guess. And no, I don't think they're going to be high owned by any means, but it's somewhat tough to get to them. And, when you look at this team, you want to play these top guys and, 1 through 6, they're all 5K and above. And then, I think Jansen's fine at 3.6K, and then Mangone's boy Jackie Bradley batting 9th at 2K. I really don't want to go there. So I'm having trouble getting to the Blue Jays. I probably won't have much exposure to them, and it's unfortunate because obviously they're an offense that can beat you right away if you fade them. I mean, they can put up a bunch of runs in a hurry, but I just don't see how I can get over the field. Not necessarily over the field, but get a decent chunk of ownership on the Blue Jays. So this game will be a fade for me here.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, it's feels a little gross. Like if someone likes Toronto today, I'm not going to fault you one bit. The ownership should be in check. I just don't love picking against Stroman, and with the prices and prioritizing pitching, you just can't get to everyone. So I agree there. 3 for 3. Next game on the slate, Seattle Mariners, Detroit Tigers, George Kirby and Matt Manning. Who going right back to you? Your Tigers, Mariners, any interest for bets?
Yeah, I mean, Kirby's my favorite pitcher on the slate, basically. So, not going to be on the Tigers. And then, man, I've picked on Matt Manning the last couple times out. It has not worked very well. I mean, he is maybe found something. I don't know. But I know he was a big prospect coming up, never really got there. But now it appears that he may have found something. Total in this game is 7.5. I'm going to be off the Mariners as well. I mean, Manning's been really good lately. So this game is also a fade for me.
Yeah, I mean, he's really surprised me this year. I did not expect him to turn it around like he has from last year. So I agree with you there. Man, going Detroit, Seattle, any bets?
Yeah, so it is a 7.5 total, and I don't typically love playing those, but I do want to talk about Matt Manning because I don't know. I'm not completely sold he's back or anything like that. Like, if we look, he played San Francisco. Are we scared of San Francisco? No one's really scared of San Francisco. Are we scared of the Angels? No, everyone can pitch against the Angels. I'll pitch Title out there against the Angels. He's got a chance. Then he strode against the White Sox. Tampa Bay, he did well, but again, it doesn't surprise me. I'm not scared of Tampa. Who has he played that's good? Minnesota, Kansas City, Boston. What team has been a challenge for him? Could Seattle finally be that challenge? It's also nice that this game is in Detroit. That's probably a bump for Seattle. Typically them playing in Seattle is not good. So I don't know. I think Seattle's kind of in play. You talked about it at the top, Title. There's not a lot of offenses we're in love with. I think there's some good offenses today, but I think the Seattle team has a lot of upside within their lineup that I'm not going to ignore them today. Even though it's a 7.5 total, I think we got to consider it just because of how much power and pop this team has in this lineup. So I personally think that Seattle is in play. Matt Manning is not someone that's proven to me yet that he's the real deal. I know the Vegas total is a little bit lower than you'd like. I think you'd like it to be just a tick higher, but I think Seattle's in play today. They're not a team I'm going to jam onto my teams, but when I'm kind of building out my pool of teams, I want to have them in there and just see how much I can get of them. Maybe they're better as like a one-off or a two-man stack, but I think overall, they're a pretty interesting team today.
Who are a couple of your favorite ones in there? Like, how would you mini stack it or stack it up? Because like Julio Rodriguez is expensive at 6.2. It'll keep the ownership really low though. Eugenio Suarez, 5K. There are cheap bats in there though. What stands out to you if you were to stack Seattle?
Yeah, well, I think Cal, as our boy AP calls him, Raleigh or Ral, whatever we want to call him, 3.8K catcher, right? Catcher's not the easy position to roster, so you can already start there. I think it's like a pure punt of Carlos Santana at 2.3 isn't the craziest way to go. You can make the arguments in the outfield. Yeah, like 6'2 Julio Rodriguez, tough to get in there, but Mitch Haniger at 4.7 seems like a pretty good option. Jesse Winker's fine at 4K, but I think my favorite Seattle option, if I had to pick, it might be Mitch Haniger at that 4.7K price tag. Just the power pop that he has. I mean, he could be priced at like 5.3 and I'd still consider him there. So yeah, it's a little bit more of an expensive stack but I think overall they're definitely in play on this slate and just can't be completely ignored. And like second base is never like a fun position to roster. So like you could easily toss like an Adam Frazier in there, like do like the full punt with Toro at 2K. That's not a bad way to go. Just full on punt the position in order to get everything else in your lineup that you want. So that's why I'm just like not completely sold on like the Matt Manning thing. And someone in the chat says Matt Manning's ERA is like 0.69. Like, I don't care about ERA, man. Like ERA isn't like a thing to me that matters. Like ownership matters. You know what I mean? Matt Manning, if you look at some of the numbers in the last 30 days, where have his struggles been? Well, they've been against lefties. That's where the real struggle has been. And maybe taking shots on those guys. Maybe it's like a small stack of like a Winker, Santana, and a Cal Raleigh. Maybe it's Santana and Raleigh. Maybe it's punting with Toro, who's a lefty. I know he hasn't been good lately, but the point I'm getting at is this team's just not going to be owned at all on this slate. And everyone assumes Matt Manning is back, and Matt Manning is great. But what team have you looked at and been like, yeah, that's a team that you think he's really shut down and like deserves to be like looked like that? If that's the case, then play Matt Manning in DFS today. He's not going to be owned. He should shut everyone down.
Yeah. I mean, you made a point earlier, and I said in the beginning of the show, like we got about 5 teams that are sitting around an implied total around 5 today. So yeah, 4.3 implied total for the Mariners. I mean, that's one of the higher ones on this slate. And we got 24 teams today. I don't think we see as many runs as we did yesterday, and just runs galore and pitching getting beat up bad. I mean, we like a lot of pitchers in the upper range today. So Mariners put up 6-7, could be enough to be on the winner for some of these guys. So I don't mind it, man, going. They will be very low owned for sure. Let's see what we got. 440 watching, 163 likes. Solid so far. Do us a favor, hit that like button for us, please. Hit that big red subscribe button. We always do appreciate it. Big 12 game slate. Talked about pitcher, going game by game, breaking all these down. So like button, subscribe button. We always do appreciate it. Los Angeles Dodgers, New York Mets, Andrew Heaney and Taijuan Walker on the mound. Hoop, going to you. Dodgers, it's not a Friday. They aren't at home. But man, decent implied total. Taijuan Walker has not been great as of late. Talk about this Dodgers team, how you'd stack it up in any Mets.
Yeah, very interested in the Dodgers here on the road, 4.8K. Now, this isn't the best hitting environment for sure, but Walker's been complete ass. And you look at the Dodgers team, I mean, they got guys that, they can beat pitchers' ballparks. The issue, not the issue, but the thing to consider when stacking the Dodgers is now they have guys that when lefties come in, the left-handed bats are out. So I want to focus on the main guys. I want Betts, Turner, Freeman, Max Muncy, Trace Thompson in there. I do like it. 2.7K. He's been hitting righties very, very well. I know our guy Gary's been in the chat talking about him quite a bit today. So I want those guys, the top four. Trace Thompson, that would be my stack, the way that I go about stacking up the Dodgers. Heaney's been good, like you said. I mean, I'm not going to play him because of the price tag, but I'm also not going to pick on him here in this game. I mean, you have a lot of guys in this Mets lineup with pinch hit risk, like Ruff, Kano, like those guys are out. So I'm not even going to mess with the Mets today, but I will have some Dodgers. I think they're a very solid team here today. But like I said, be cautious about the way that you stack them.
Yep. And they do. They have a lot more cheaper guys than usual in that lineup today. You look at Lux 3.9, Gallo 3.7, Austin Barnes 2.8, Thompson 2.7, even Bellinger 4.1. So top of the order, definitely expensive, but there is some salary relief if you do want a 5-man stack it, even if you are spending up at pitcher. And go and talk about the Dodgers and then talk about your Mets. Any interest in bats?
No interest in the Mets against Heaney. Like, it's just not the right slate, I think, to play the Mets. But I would I be shocked if these guys went up? No, I would not be surprised at all. But overall, I think these Dodgers, like, you have to consider them. They're obviously not in LA, which I prefer. I don't like that ballpark, so I get them at least in New York. Wind's blown out a little bit, 80 degrees, which 80 degrees is fine for right now. It's not terrible. It's not something I'm just saying I need to attack, but at least that's decent. And I think these Dodgers are definitely in play. I'm going to have exposure to them. I think Hoop brought up a lot of really good points. Obviously, Trace Thompson is a good option getting there. Austin Barnes is a cheap option too at the catcher position. Up and down, like, they just work really well. And one thing to mention about Joey Gallo, I know he didn't like New York, just being in New York. So he's in New York tonight. Maybe he's not going to have a good game now. Maybe it's like, just being back in New York, he's got some bad flashbacks, stays at a hotel. Maybe, he sees a restaurant, he got some food poisoning out. Who knows? But I'm not in on Joey Gallo, I don't think. And now that I talk trash about him, that means he goes off for like 3 home runs. So there we go.
Yeah, I mean, especially a guy like Joey Gallo. I mean, it's not, he gets a hold of one, that thing is going to fly out. But no.
Well, the good news is title, he can't, like good thing for Joey Gallo, this is a spot to play him. And the reason, the argument for it is Kyle Walker doesn't get swing and misses, right? I mean, his strikeout percentage is 13% in the last 30 days. It's awful. The dude doesn't strike you out, so at least he gets the bat on the ball. So I should retract some of my jokes about Joey Gallo. It was more so just making a joke that he didn't like living in New York. But overall, I'm not going to X any Dodgers from my pool when I kind of build these teams out. I'm going to make sure I get exposure to them. I think they're a good play today.
Yeah, Dodgers are definitely one of my favorite stacks. Taijuan Walker's just been so bad lately, and Dodgers are one of the best offenses in the league. So I think that makes some sense on this 12-game slate where we're struggling to find some spots for hitting. Next game on the slate, Colorado Rockies, Atlanta Braves, Jose Urania, Max Fried on the mound. I mean, we're talking about struggling for bats and stuff. This is the top stack on the slate. Whether you look at Vegas, the implied total, I think ownership's also going to follow. We've been talking shit about Jose Urania for a while now. These Braves team, I mean, we always talk about how great their lineup is. I do wish that Michael Harris was still in the 7 or 8 hole instead of the 2 hole. He did get the move up. Ownership's going to follow, which is why I do say that. But man, how do you not like these Braves today, Mango?
Yeah, Braves are definitely in play. Not going to tell you that they're a bad team to play. They're definitely in play for sure. Urania is someone to target, and you get Michael Harris up higher in that lineup. I'm curious what his ownership is going to be now. I'm assuming it's going to go up a little bit. And you still have bottom of the order guys that are interesting too, like Travis d'Arnaud at 3.6 is fine. Robbie Grossman at 2.4. I mean, that's a really great spot for Robbie Grossman, and the price is really good. So, hey, just because Michael Harris is at that top of the order doesn't mean you can't live in his bottom of the order too, with like a Vaughn Grisham at 2.8K as well. Eddie Rosario at 2.9. Up and down, Braves are a really good play. I got them on my content right now. I'm probably going to have exposure to them tonight. They're definitely in play. Not a team I'm going to ignore. Not a team I'm Xing out.
Yep, I agree. And looking at this lineup, like I said, I wish Michael Harris was in the 7 or 8 hole just because 4.2K, people usually don't like spending down that much. But William Contreras and Travis d'Arnaud are both in the lineup. They're both just catcher eligible. And Contreras is $1,100 more expensive at 4.7K. So I think he will be one of the lower owned spots. We talked about it yesterday with the Cardinals, Goldie and Pujols. Now they're eating the stuff there. Pujols went off, Goldie didn't. All Goldie Cardinal stacks were completely dead because of that thing. Same thing at catcher. d'Arnaud, I expect to be more popular, probably over double the ownership because of the price, hitting higher in the order. Contreras is swinging a hot stick too. I like Contreras in GPPs. Think it's a little way to get different. And you have to always think about that stuff when you are stacking one of the highest owned teams on the slate. Boop, talk about the Braves, and then I assume no Rockies.
This is just a shove spot for me. I mean, just putting it all in on the Braves. I mean, it's too good of a spot against Urena. Will they be owned? Yeah. But it's a 12-game slate and things get spread out and people want to avoid chalk. Cardinals last night were the team looking like everyone's going to play. Well, they come in lower on. Weather did play a little bit of a factor, but there's less games last night. Tonight, there's 12 games. Braves won't be as owned as they should be in the spot against Urena. It's about as good as it gets. The Michael Harris thing, he's in the 2 hole. His ownership is going way up now, but how do you get different? I think you pointed out the best way to get different. You have Travis d'Arnaud at catcher, 3.6K, batting 5th, and you have William Contreras at 4.7K, batting 7th. Everyone's just going to jam Travis d'Arnaud. Go to Contreras. Play Robbie Grossman, do a 8-9 wraparound or something with Grissom and Grossman. If you play, Swanson, Harris, Riley, Olsen, d'Arnaud, you're going to be the same as everyone else. If you start mixing some of these guys towards the bottom, you're going to, begin to get a little bit different. So just way, way too good of a spot here to fade. I'm going to have just as much Braves exposure as I can possibly get tonight. I think it's just a really, really good spot. And then definitely fading the Rockies.
Yeah, the Braves, like we said, I mean, we're not breaking any news to you. People are going to like the Braves. Urania stinks. Pitching's good on this slate. It's hard to find really bad pitchers. So makes sense. But man, sometimes we saw it yesterday, Cardinals. We thought they were in the best spot. Obviously with weather, got some people off. But sometimes the chalk does hit in baseball. But just do not jam in all the chalk pitchers in that way on a 12-game slate. Try and get different if you are stacking the Braves or have a different secondary stack, a lower-owned pitcher, something like that. Next game on the slate, the Boston Red Sox, the Minnesota Twins, Cutter Crawford and Chris Archer on the mound. Right back to you in this one, Hoop. Any interest in bets?
I'm going to go back to my Red Sox. Yesterday, we kind of talked about the Red Sox. We talked about Trevor Story. He actually was in that winning lineup, ironically. I mean, we talked about it on the show. Yeah, he was. He was in the winning lineup.
What did he get?
I think 18, kind of grinded his way there. I think, it didn't hit like a home run or anything, but just kind of grinded his way there.
3 singles. Yeah.
Yeah. Archer, not great. I'm good going, back to Boston here. You got Franchi, Cordero, 2K, basically like the same lineup here for the most part, as yesterday. Devers 6K should keep his ownership in check. Third base is really, really weak, actually, when you look at it. It's not a strong position by any means. So yeah, I'm going back to the Red Sox here, and man, it's just the Twins. We talk about it, every show. Like, when is the last time the Twins came out and beat us? Like, it just doesn't happen. Like, what did they even score? I know they didn't put up many last night.
They weren't on the winner. I know
they definitely weren't on the winner. Like 4 runs. Like, they just never get there. I mean, they just don't. So maybe some light exposure, just lineup filler type plays. Nick Gordon, if he's in there, I'm fine with. Kepler, if he's in there, I'm fine with. But just, I don't know, Twins suck. So like Boston here, and maybe a couple Twins.
Man, going Twins. I feel like last time they were on the winner, it was when you were on the Twins on this show. You said Big T, DC, as long as they're not on them. You jumped on them. You liked them. They put up 8 runs, but that was enough for the winner. I remember that day. So talk about these Twins. You're the Twins whisperer at RPS now, and then any Red Sox for you.
No, I'm not the Twins whisperer. It's DC and Big T. Stay off the Twins, and they're going to do some stuff. So, like, I don't think it's a bad idea to play some Twins today, just because, like, if you look at, like, some of the prices, like, a Jake Cave one-off could be interesting. Nick Gordon, like, he's been solid. I think he's kind of in play, like, just because they're cheap punt options. So, like, maybe as the mini stack, I don't mind it. And who knows? Maybe if I look at all the cores, you know, Hoop's talking trash about the Twins. Maybe Big T talks trash about the Twins. Maybe DC talks trash. And then maybe I really just come full circle on the Twins today. I don't think they're the worst team, because if you look at Cutter Crawford, we want to pick on pitchers, right? We like matchups, and Cutter Crawford has not been good. He's had a lot of struggles against lefties as well. We know Jake Cave has lefty power. We know Nick Gordon has been hitting the ball a little bit better. They're cheap. Max Kepler has some power and pop in his bat. Luis Ariz, dude doesn't strike out. So when he just gets the bat on the ball, it's over. So, I mean, I think in general, they're not the worst. And maybe targets up some of these lefties, then throw in like a Correa or a Miranda. I think the 5-man stack could find its way, but, you know, stay tuned to the Up the Lock show. Let's see what DC and Big T are doing.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, like you said, because I was like, Twins, man, they all, right when I see the Twins, they always burn us. So I'm like, But you look at pitchers on the slate, you want to target, like you said, man, going Cutter Crawford just hasn't been great so far. Not worried about this bullpen either, but the Twins also have to put the bat on the ball and do something for the pitcher to matter. So, yeah, tune in the Up the Lock show, see what DC and Big T says, follow Mangone's train. If they're off of, maybe get on them, and hopefully it works out like it did last time. Let's get to the next game on the slate. The Houston Astros, the Texas Rangers, Framber Valdez, Dane Dunning on the mound. It's a no for me. Mangone, what you got in this one?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to start going pretty quick through some of these. Not saying everything's a fade, but there's going to be some that are fades. And 7.5 total here, I just don't think this is a game I need to go to. You can always make the argument Houston can pop off versus anyone, but man, that lineup, it's not looking pretty. I mean, look at that 5 through 9. Gurriel, Mancini, Vasquez, JJ Matovic. I'm not going to say his name right. Chas McCormick. Like, it's not the greatest bottom of the order that you've seen from the Astros. So I think overall I'm fading this game.
I give you props for even attempting to say JJ's last name, because that's farther than I would have got. But yeah, I mean, Dunning struggles against lefties. What do they got in there? They got Tucker. They don't even got Yordong in there, which absolutely looks gross. And they got JJ as the lefty. So I'm out on these Astros for sure. Who?
Yeah, I mean, no Alvarez. The lineup just looks like shit overall. The total has come down since this lineup came out without Alvarez. Jeremy Pena, 3.5K, shortstop eligible. I'm interested there. Rangers definitely not playing. So yeah, game's a fade for me outside of Pena.
Let's see what we got for likes. We got 5 games left, 485 watching, 188 likes. Let's get 280 likes. I think that's a very reasonable number. Want to get you the plays today. These games could be going by quicker, like Mangone did say. So please do not wait. Like button, big red subscribe button. We appreciate it. 5 games left. Get into the stacks, then hopefully get you the plays of the day. Next game on the slate, we got where do we got? Kansas City Royals, Chicago White Sox, Brady Singer, Lucas Giolito on the mound. Man, I'll go back to you in this one, Hoop. Any interest for bats?
Oh, gosh, not really. I mean, you know, if you need lineup fillers, AJ Pollock, 3.4K, Gavin Sheets, 2.6K, I'm fine with them. I mean, I'm not going to be playing much of these guys. I think I would actually have a little more interest in the Royals side, middle of the order. O'Hearn, 2K, Hunter Dozier, third base eligible, where I said the position kind of sucks, 2.4K, Prado, 2K, Massey, 2K. So cheap lineup fillers on the Royals, I think fine. White Sox, I don't know, now that I talk about it, probably nobody outside of Gavin Sheets. I mean, it dries up quickly, like you guys both kind of alluded to.
Yeah, I wish Italian Nightmare, Big Vinny P was in that lineup. I do have more interest in the Royals and the White Sox, just because we know Giolito. I mean, he can go out there and look really good, 7 scoreless, 10 Ks. He can also blow up though, which, man, that's when you'd want to jump on a really low owned Royal stack. But that lineup doesn't excite me, but I'm going to throw them in the same boat as the A's and the Nats earlier. Just, man, they are so cheap. And if you want to spend up at pitching, which we are, if you want to spend some top stacks, you might need some of these guys for really cheap. So I'm fine as a mini stack with them. Man, go and talk about this game for bets.
No, I'm good, Title. We don't have to talk about this. Why don't you tell the people to get the likes up instead? Let's spend time doing that so they can get the plays of the day, because there's no play of the day from this game, and like no one wants to play in this one.
I mean, I just tried last time. I can only ask so much. So, man, going, you give him a little pep talk. I'll appreciate it. I said 280. I gave you a little lower than 300 too.
All right, so 280. Let's get those likes up, guys. Please, we appreciate it. We want to give out those plays of the days for you guys. I'm just going to tell you, we're going to start cranking through these games a little quicker. We only got 4 left, and I want to talk about the Brewers for sure. So that's definitely one game I'll discuss. And then from there, we're going to get pretty quick through these games. So get the likes up, subscribe to the channel, because we're going to have tons of NFL content coming your way. And I just talked to Snyder and some of the other guys, and we got a college football show coming up for you on Thursday with a big Thursday slate. So be sure to check that out.
Awesome. Yeah. College football show. We had the tennis show yesterday. Love seeing a bunch of NASCAR on Sundays, MMA shows, tons of sports, tons of shows we have here. So the subscribe button, you will get alerted when we go live. Like button, subscribe button. We appreciate it. Who knows how long the show is going to take now with the last couple games. But this game we'll talk about a little because Mango wants to talk about these Brewers against Mitch Keller. Jason Alexander on the mound for the Brewers. Going to be more of a bullpen game for them. He's not going to throw more than just a couple innings. I mean, Keston Hiura, dude, is absolutely on fire yesterday. Hit a walk-off dinger. You got Garrett Mitchell in the 9-hole, Min Price, 2K. He also hit a homer yesterday, swiped a bag. These Brewers, man, they're starting to hit finally. Mangone, what you like about these Brewers?
Yeah, I mean, Brewers are in a great spot. Obviously, Mitch Keller, look at some of the numbers. 12% strikeout rate. That is not good at all. Brewers, they've been hitting a hot stick too, so I don't want to ignore them. We've seen what Hunter Renfroe does when he gets hot, so definitely can keep riding him out. I think overall, Brewers are one of the better stacks in the slate, and there's no Rowdy Tellez, where maybe people are going to be like, hey, like, I'm not going to play this team because like Rowdy Tellez isn't in there, but like, that's fine. Willy Adames, really good option to go to. Christian Yelich, can never sleep on him. I know his power hasn't been as great, but he's got a decent price tag. And then Jace Peterson, Big T's boy. Obviously, he's in play. I think up and down, though, the 1 through 9 just can't be ignored for the Brewers. So I'm down to pick on Mitch Keller. I don't think he's very good, and I think it's a pretty good spot.
Who? Brew Crew.
Yeah, I love this team here. The thing that stands out is it's cheap, man. I mean, Colton Wong, 3.1K, Keston, 2.7. You get a cheap catcher in Caratini at 2.1K. Got Jace Peterson down here. And then the guys up top, Adames, my guy, Hunter Renfroe. Garrett Mitchell got the job done last night at 2K flat. They make a lot of things work tonight. So ton of interest in the Brewers top to bottom, and then some interest as well in the Pirates, like a Neil Cruz leading off at shortstop. I think he's a great like one-off. Rodolfo Castro batting 5th, second base and third base eligible, where we talked about third base is just not the strongest position. So a lot of interest, honestly, in both sides of this game for me, but obviously the Brewers will be a very core piece for me tonight.
I'm going to ask you this question, then I'm going to ask Mangone. Braves, Dodgers, Brewers. Rank them. Who?
Braves, Brewers, Dodgers.
Mangone?
Brewers, Dodgers, Braves. But I mean, they're all good. Like I'm going to get exposure to all of them. So not too worried about it.
That's why I asked, though. I think they are the 3 favorite stacks that we've talked about so far. They have a higher implied total, so I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Another thing to call Title, like it's okay to have in your pool, and like if you get less of like one of those teams, like maybe it's because of what you're doing. It's because like the pitchers you're rostering or some of the other stacks that you're getting exposure to. So like sometimes then like people go in and they try to force too many stacks in, and they just built out really bad lineups. So that's something else to maybe look at. Like go through, make some teams, and like see what they're doing, and then like if you are getting less of one of those teams, it might just be okay because it's just not fitting like the math that you're kind of putting together for the other things that you like on the slate.
Yeah, no, I think that's why Saber Sim, an optimizer like that who runs all the sims and stuff, if you don't have a strong lean between a couple teams, you make sure you get at least a 5-man stack on 3 teams, let's say Brewers, Braves, Dodgers. And if you're don't have a strong lean and just Saber Sim loves the Dodgers and they don't love the other 2 or something like that, maybe you could just trust the optimizer and go with that. You don't have to jam in the other teams and just spread out your exposure if you want to have a strong stance on something like that. So I think that's a good point, man. Sometimes let Saber Sim determine what you're going to do after you narrow down your player pool and your stacks. 3 games left. New York Yankees, Los Angeles Angels, Jameson Taillon, Mike Myers on the line. Man, Yankees, they have a decent implied total. I mean, Aaron Judge, dude is just stupid. He's homers pretty much every day, it seems. You can always play him. But outside of him, who else do you like?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Aaron Judge is a phenomenal play. Just to go back to that lineup last night, it did have Judge as like a one-off. So, I mean, he's got to be like the top one-off guy almost every single slate, regardless of matchup. Just tons of upside. I mean, he's just in a tier of his own right now, above all those guys, above Trout, Ohtani, everyone. It's Aaron Judge, and then everyone below him. So phenomenal play. I don't care what the price tag is. Get exposure to him every night now. In terms of the rest of these guys, yeah, I mean, Anthony Rizzo, I think is a great play, 5.4K. Benintendi should get a good lineup spot. You got Oswaldo Cabrera. Josh Donaldson was out of the lineup. He should be back tonight. So definitely like the Yankees here. And then on the Angels side, just such an uninspiring team. It's very hard to have much interest. You can always play Trout, Ohtani. I'm just not going to do it tonight. If they beat me, they beat me. It's fine. I'd just rather have Aaron Judge at the same positions as those guys. So I'm going to have Yankees tonight and no Angels.
Mangone, talk about these Yankees, how they stack up against some of the other top stacks, and any Angels for you.
Yeah, you can play Aaron Judge. Don't X him out of your pool. That sounds like a bad idea. But the rest, I don't need to really play Yankees today, I don't think. Just because got to take a stand somewhere at some hitters, right? And I think that's one stand I definitely want to be taking. I don't need to play them against Mayors. It's in that LA stadium that I don't love a lot. So I think it's just Aaron Judge mainly for me. If you had a Rizzo as a one-off, I wouldn't hate it or stand, but I'm not full stacking these guys or going out of my way to mini stack them. Just think there's better spots that I can go to.
Yep, can't argue with that there. 2 games left. Philadelphia Phillies, Arizona Diamondbacks, Aaron Nola, Zach Gallen. I see 2 good pitchers. I see a game that I'm crossing off. What about you, Mangone?
Yep, like I said, we got to get those likes up because we're going to breeze through these games. I wish I could like Arizona today because they've been good to me, and Aaron Nola is not the spot to pick on. They've been hitting the ball really well. I just don't think this is the spot to go to. So 7.5 total, I'm out on it.
Who?
Yeah, game is a fade for me. I mean, the problem is, even if you let's say you like the Phillies, can you play Schwarber and Harper over some of these other spends? For me, just can't make that case. So I'll be fading this one.
43 more likes we do need. We got 1 game left. Who knows how long it's going to take? We're going to get into stacks. I'll try and stall for a little bit, but man, it's hurtful right now. There is no there's no other words to describe it. Mangone's try to help out as well. Like button, subscribe button. We always do appreciate it. Last game, we got San Diego Padres, San Francisco Giants, Blake Snell, Logan Webb. 60 degrees in San Francisco. Hoop, are you getting any of these teams?
No, I mean, it's a ballpark where I just don't play hitters. It, works out very well, 90% of the time. If you like Soto, sure, go for it. If you like Manny Machado, sure, go for it. Those guys will not be on my teams tonight. And then I like Snell, and I don't like the Giants lineup, so it's an easy fade for me.
Mangone.
Yep, 7.5 total. Typically don't like playing those ones, and it's not a spot where I think picking on Snell or Webb is going to make any sense. So I'm out on this game, and we'll go over our stacks and hopefully we can get it home to give those plays of the day out.
Absolutely. Talk about stacks, Mangone. Give me your top 3.
I'm gonna go top 4 just because I want to add one contrarian one in there. I'm gonna go Brewers 1, Dodgers 2, Braves 3. And I'm throwing Seattle in there as that 4th one, that little contrarian stack that I think can get it home for the people. So we'll add them. And like I said, stay tuned. We'll see if let's see if I add those Minnesota Twins on later on. Not yet, but there's going to be another team that I add, another offense. Could be Oakland because they're a cheap option. Depends on how some of the math works out. A lot of interesting offenses to look at this slate. But again, my order is Brewers, Dodgers, Braves, and then Seattle.
I like that. Same thing to you, Hoop. 3 top 4 stacks. 1 has to be contrarian.
Yeah, give me the Braves 1, Brewers, Boston. I don't think they'll be highly owned. And then one team that I'm looking at that I'm getting some exposure to here, just starting to build teams, is the Nationals, just because how cheap they are. So I'll go Nationals as a contrarian mini stack, not going to five man.
I like it. You said that was like the one game that it looked like to me like the most weather concern, but it should be.
It looks better now. Yeah, apparently it's looking a little bit better, so I don't think there's any concern now.
Yeah, I think all weather game or everything does play as well. But Discord
Yeah.
up to lock show if something does change. We're in there monitoring it as always. I'm not going to look at the likes yet. I'm going to read a little promo and stuff, then check the likes. We do have a promo code going on right now, as we've mentioned, NFL 15, get you 15% off every single month for the life of your subscription. It's going to end after week 1 of the NFL. Man, that is so close. I mean, what, one Sunday without football and then football every single week on our screens. College football, though, we had that going on last week. This week, big college football week. Thursday, we have a show. Snyder, Mangone, Bruce, I assume. Susie's always in the streets as well. So college football, make sure you get in the streets. MMA this week, early Saturday morning, little off for golf, little couple off weeks. Their season's winding down, but with the NFL coming up, we got video games, as Holden likes to say. NBA, NHL will be here before we know it. Any tennis, U.S. Open, big prize pools there. And if you want to see Mangone's, if he's going to add those twins in his single entry, 3-entry stuff as well, you do have to be a member. NFL 15 gets you 15% off every single month. Make sure you do get in the Discord as well. Then Underdog, it is Underdog season. It's best ball season going on. We have a promo code with them, Run Peer, and they'll match up to $100 for your first deposit over there. Run Peer is that promo code. Looking at the likes, no other way to describe it. Hurtful, 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 hurtful. We'll be back tomorrow. As always, we appreciate everyone hanging out, though. We appreciate everyone that did hit that like, that did hit that subscribe button. Hope to see some RPS logos up top like we did yesterday. Let's get another 6-figure shipper from someone and a lot of other screenshots in the Discord. We appreciate y'all hanging out. Hope you guys and girls have a great Tuesday night. That's going to do it for us, though. For Hoop, Mangone, Simon Behind the Sticks, I'm Titletown. Good luck, everybody.